Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission.
Go!
I'm gonna make these suckers recognize I ain't playing ho. If you violate off the top, trick, you gotta go. Woo!
You can fool this country, you legit, but I know you a punk-ass gangster.
We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can change the focus to a soft blur or sharpen it to crystal clarity.
You know it's hard out here for a pimp.
I want Empire to be here long after I'm gone. I need to start grooming a successor, and it can only be one of you.
For the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear.
This is not entertainment. This is a life that could have been taken here, and you are standing around laughing like this is entertainment for you to look at. Get off the reality TV shows and get into reality.
You are about to participate in a great adventure.
To the Empire.
Ashra Kwesi, if you know Ashra Kwesi, every other line was Dr. Ben, Dr. Ben, Dr. Jesus Ben, Dr. Ben. And I'm like, who is Dr. Ben? So as I watched that tape, you know what I mean, and I finally went to a bookstore, I said, do you have anything by Dr. Ben? You know what I mean? Because I just hit his name over and over again, Dr. Ben. And that's when I got my first book by Dr. Ben, African Origin, a Great Major Western Religion. It was a deep book because I was just coming out of Patterson High School, Mr. Beach, and you know, it was kind of rough. So understanding during that time was kind of, you know, the book. So I was determined because I just got into knowledge, saw Malcolm, saw the Ashra Kwesi, and it was like, I'm gonna learn this book. I want to know this knowledge. So I sat down with my dictionary and I read that book and I understood. I had a team at the time that was trying to get me into the Christian church or just different things, other different religions. And I took that and I would debate everybody from that one book. And I was a scholar, instant, overnight, instant scholar, Dr. Ben Davis. In my car, that's all I listened to was Dr. Ben. Dr. Ben, and then I learned about him. He said something about Dr. Clark, and then it was Dr. Clark. And then during that time, going through my transformation, I got a job at Everyone's Place during that time. And that's where Brother Nati, raise your hand, that's here tonight. Who was a huge person in my spiritual transformation because Everyone's Place was where I was able to sit there and watch every cassette and VHS tape at that time. And that's where I learned about many folks, you know what I mean? So, I mean, there, that was like the headquarters, and that was a place, you know, just for my nurturing and maturing. And then from there, I can say a sister that's here tonight, she walked in because I started watching some of her tapes, and I thought she was just a very dynamic sister. And one day, sister came in and she was getting a book or something like that, and she was talking. I said, what's your name, sister? She said, oh, my name is Dr. Patricia Newton. So give her a big round of applause. Dr. Patricia Newton is in the building here tonight. Because I had been looking at some of her stuff, so it was like one scholar which led to another scholar. But just to go back again, a little bit during that time when I read that book, after I read Dr. Ben, the next book I read was Brother Tony Browder's book, the Browder Files. Browder Files Volume 1, that was the book that I read by him. And I always tell the story, I broke the brother from the address and he never broke me back from there. But, you know, it's a whole other story. I don't know why that happened. But, you know what I mean? But, so.
I'm sorry.
It's cool. You know, and then we got, you know what I mean? And of course, Mama Mayat, my mother that's here, you know what I mean, who's been with me from the beginning, of course. Give her a big round of applause for being here tonight. So probably further, I just wanted to let y'all know, I mean, you know, I feel very empowered. A lot of folks that have nurtured me through the years are here with me tonight. Brother Yusuf and Brother Baba Issa, who's here tonight, and a whole host of other people who came out to our lectures from the beginning. If I missed anybody, please forgive me. Sister Annette, and let's see, we start naming names and get in trouble, you know what I mean? But everyone here who knows who you are. So we really appreciate y'all. So Brother Tony Browder, as I said before, he's been coming for years. We've been doing this lecture series for 20 years. I would always challenge Brother Tony Browder. I'll call him up and, Brother Tony, did you see the new movie, Avatar? Yeah, I did see the movie, brother, but hey, you think we can do something on Avatar? Yeah, bro, let's do something with the movie Avatar. I mean, we've done Avatar, we've done the Da Vinci Code, we've done The Lion King, Precious, yeah, we've done Precious, we've done
Django.
We've done Django, so we've done about, is it almost 10?
We've done a lot.
Yeah, it's almost like 10 different ones where we'll break down these different things. So Empire was something that we had to break down. I see my daughters going crazy over it. I see children everywhere going crazy like a religion. You know what they all say? It's only entertainment. That's what everybody say. It's only entertainment. Can't you just enjoy something for once? So once again, we have the scholar, and like I said, this is a divine time because Brother Tony and Sister Dr. Patricia Newton, who was doing the lectures before I came into being, before Reality Speaks came, she was actually the person that was doing the lectures here in Baltimore. So we just came in and just, walked in her shoes. So, so we want to get ready to bring this brother up, like I said, because this is a scholar I miss. This is a divine time. Brother Dr. Ben is gone. Dr. Clark, they're still here on the spiritual realm, but the next line, Brother Tony and the rest of the brothers and sisters are the next in line. So we want to give them a big round of applause. The author of the Nile Valley Civilization, the author of Egypt on the Potomac, the Browder Files 1 and 2. Give this brother a big round of applause for all the work he's been doing all over the planet. Give him a big round of applause.
Yeah, it's okay.
Everything we do should be done out of respect and out of love. And brother, I want to say I'm so appreciative of you making this a place where our scholars can come and teach. Yes. There's not very many churches that do that. There are not very many pastors who are secure enough in their manhood, in their womanhood, in their relationship with God to do that. The day after Dr. Ben passed, Brother Kaba's wife, Brother Kaba of Black Notes, his wife passed. And they were to have her homegoing services on Monday at a church in Northwest Washington, D.C. He called me the day before yesterday and said that they had to move it to another church, Plymouth Congregational Church, because the deacons at the other church objected to having Nana Kwabena Brown officiate the homegoing service because he was going to pour libation, because he's an Akan priest, in addition to being an ordained minister. So not every house of God is really a house of God. It's a house of frauds, all right? And there are very few people like this brother here. So you all should give him a round of applause. You all should support him for making sure that we have a place that is a safe place where we can talk about ourselves and not be afraid. Not be afraid. Because something that I remember Dick Gregory often saying, that fear is the absence of God. Huh? So how are you going to be afraid to call on your ancestors when you're in the house of God? It means that you obviously are not doing something right. So we're here in a place to talk about things that are right so that we can do the right thing and model for our children what correct behavior is, what correct attitudes are. That's the only way we're going to save ourselves. So I want to begin by asking us all to take a moment or two of silence, bless you, sister, to honor the memory, the legacy, the life, and the journey into and through afterlife that Dr. Ben is currently walking through. Dr. Ben's wake will be held on Thursday, April the 9th at Abyssinia Baptist Church in Harlem. The wake will take place between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. on Thursday. His homegoing service will take place at Abyssinia on Friday, April the 10th from 9:30 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. in Harlem, New York. And then he'll be buried in Ferncliff Cemetery in New York as well. So we give thanks to Dr. Ben for all that he's done, for all the lives that he has favorably influenced, and also for all the hell he gave white folk. I thank him for that. I thank Dr. Ben for frightening Negroes and trying to get them to step up and be authentic African people instead of fake people. So we acknowledge Dr. Ben and we remember him. So let's get into it. One of the things that I like about coming here and presenting with Reality Speaks is that, as Jabari mentioned, he always gives me new challenges. And he gives me opportunities to talk about subject matters that I wouldn't normally talk about. I normally deal with history and culture and things of Africa, but Jabari has encouraged me to begin to talk about current events, to talk about films, to talk about television, because that's where the majority of our people are. The majority of black folk, let's not fool ourselves, the majority of black folk will never read a Dr. Ben book. Right? The majority of black folk will never come to a lecture like this. Why? Because they're too busy watching television, watching movies, at the club, doing what we have been programmed to do. So by Jabari giving me these opportunities to talk about television, to talk about current events, to talk about movies, it gives me the opportunity to get into things that I love. I like watching television. I like good movies. But it also affords me the opportunity to infuse within my discussion about films our history, our culture, because it's there. And you have to know that it's there in order to recognize it and help interpret it for others so that they can see it too. And realize that Africa is all around us. It has literally been hidden in plain sight. But if we do, as Roosevelt Middleton instructed us to do, sharpen our eye and tune our ear, then we will know what we see. We will understand what we hear, and we'll hear the voice of our ancestors telling us to look at it this way, not that way. And now you got what you needed off of Scandal, now turn the television off and go pick up a book and read. So we're going to deal with that. And what I want to focus on tonight is to talk a bit about how this new television program, Empire, rose from obscurity to become the most significant television program of this century in just 11 weeks. Empire has made history. So we need to understand this history. So we need to understand, how this happened, who is responsible for making this happen, and we also need to understand how Empire is going to change the game of television. And then process all of this so that we can understand how all of this will impact the lives of black folk. Because folk have plans for us, even if we don't have plans for ourselves. So before I delve into this, I want to talk a little bit about my background. What qualifies me to talk about this subject matter? Well, those of you all who know me know that I'm an artist by training. I have no formal training, no formal background in researching, in history, in lecturing, in doing the things that I've been doing for the last 34 years. I have no formal training in that at all. What I'm doing comes from my heart. My formal training is in graphic design and advertising. My freshman year in college, I majored in architecture at the University of Illinois in Chicago. But before that, my mother, and yes, Jabari, we all came from my mother. My mother was the first African American to be hired at NBC in Chicago. She started off as a secretary, and that was around 1961. And she rose through the ranks and began working in the news department. She wound up doing broadcast news and doing a lot of work at NBC before she went on to do some other work in the media. She was the first of 4 people in my family to work at NBC. So she was a groundbreaker in many ways. And because of the fact that she worked at NBC as a young child from the age of 10 or 11, I would sometimes go to work with her. So I would go into the studio. I would watch the people doing the news. I would watch them doing the weather. And I would hear them before they were on the microphone cursing somebody out. And then on on television, acting all prim and proper. And so I could see the two sides of their personality. I could see behind the curtain. I knew what was real and what was fake. I saw the prop room. I saw all the things that went into creating these programs. So as a consequence, I wasn't taken by all of this. I knew that it was a job. I had peeked behind the curtain. So when I began to do the work that I'm doing now, I was comfortable with that environment. So I could sit down and do television interviews and radio interviews. I've probably done at least 1,000 television and radio interviews over the past 30 years. I'm comfortable with that. I also worked for a time with a couple of advertising agencies. One of the best jobs I had was the summer of 1972, working at Foot Cone and Belding Advertising Agency, watching these writers and directors and artists create commercials and watching every phase of the commercial. Going with the directors as they shot commercials and seeing what goes into creating the products that you all were going to see 6 months or a year down the road. So I knew in advance what you all didn't know and what was going to be coming, who created it, and what it was designed to evoke inside of you. So I had peered behind the curtain. And on days when there wasn't a lot of work to do at this advertising agency, I would go into the viewing room, the screening room, and watch commercials all day long and analyze why the commercials were made, because I knew the people who wrote them. I knew the people who directed them. I knew the people who did the art direction. So I knew this business inside and out. So these are the skills that I bring to my interpretation of films, my interpretation of television programs, because for every person you see on the screen, there's at least 30 people behind the scene that you never see. And those are the craft persons who make everything happen, who make these people look good. So I want to bring that insight to it. And so I evolved from becoming a graphic artist to becoming a historian. And after 30 years of researching, documenting our history, lecturing about our history, I've, within the last 2-3 years, come to see myself as less of a historian and more of a memory recovery specialist. So my job is to recover the memory of the people who have been written out of the respectable commentary of history. This has been an intentional brainwashing. And so because of the fact that I have certain skills, I can help you know yourself and know who you really are, know what's inside of you so that you can be the best person possible. So one of the skills that I have is analyzing images, analyzing buildings. So about 4 years ago, James Small called me up and said, Tony, there's a building in New York that has some objects in front of it, some statues in front of it, that I know are important, but I don't know what they mean. Why don't you come up to New York? I'll meet you. We'll go to Lower Manhattan, and I'll walk you through this space because I know there's something there for you. So about 3 or 4 years ago, we went down to Lower Manhattan, right below Wall Street, to this building, the U.S. Customs House, which was built 108 years ago, right? 1907. And in front of this building, there are 4 statues. These 4 statues represent the 4 continents, and they're all represented as women, as females. Why? Because women represent life. Women give birth to people. They give birth to nations. So symbolically, metaphorically, in art, women represent life. Every continent is named after a woman. Europe, Africa, Asia, those are all feminized names representing the creative power of females to give birth to people, to give birth to culture, to give birth to situation, to civilization. So this is Africa, this is Europe, this is America, and this is Asia. For the purposes of my brief discussion here, I'm going to focus on these 3. So America, Europe, and Africa. Look at these images. Let me enlarge them and break them down. Look at the symbolism. These sculptures were created by Daniel Chester French. You all may not know Daniel Chester French's name, but you know his work. He's the sculptor who created the image of Abraham Lincoln in the Lincoln Memorial. So he understands symbolic imagery. So we see here America as a woman holding a torch. A torch represents light, knowledge, and information. She's holding shafts of corn, which represents agriculture and the ability of a nation to feed its people. And we see here her foot is on the symbol of Native Americans, their history and culture, which has been oppressed by the Europeans when they came to America. We also see here the symbol of America, the eagle. So this one piece, one sculpture is loaded with imagery that the average person doesn't see, but someone who's trained to know how to interpret this information can break it down and share with you what you're seeing. So let's look at Europe. This image of Europe is Minerva, the Roman goddess of war, knowledge, and power. Minerva is the Roman version of Athena, the Greek goddess of war, knowledge, and power. We see Minerva wearing her shield on her chest. We see Minerva with her weapons behind her. We see Minerva with the symbol of Rome, the eagle. Again, the bird is a symbol of nationalism because the eagle is a bird of prey, right? Eagle has keen eyesight, sees everything around it. It's the king of all the birds, right? But importantly here, we see Minerva with a book sitting on top of a globe. A book represents knowledge. You notice here that the book is open. So an open book represents the application of knowledge. And the book rests on the world, which means that they are using knowledge to control the world. That's clear, crystal clear. Now let's look at Africa. What do you see when you see Africa? See agony. What else do you see?
No hope.
No, you said no hope. Why do you say no hope, sister?
Look at her head.
Look at her head. What about her head?
Down.
Head is down. So that represents no hope, right? All right. So she's bare, nude, from the waist up. So that symbolizes that she's a savage, right? But notice her posture. Her head is down. Her eyes are closed. So she is symbolically asleep or dead. So she is unconscious. She has no consciousness. She is dead. She has no memory of who she is because everything has been taken from her. She's sitting on a throne. One hand is resting on Hera Marquette. Another hand is resting on a lion, the symbol of royalty and power. But she is dead. She is unconscious. Everything has been taken away from her. So as a result, she's knocked out. That's us. Yeah. Black folk, Africans are unconscious. We are the walking dead. We are the zombies and don't even know it. That's what Negroes are, the walking dead. So let's be clear how they perceive us. So I want to look at the imagery we see here. See this image right here? This is something I talk about quite frequently. This is the Heru Badet. This is the symbol that was carved above the entrance of every temple in Kemet. This is the symbol which, to my understanding, represents the idea of know yourself. It symbolizes Heru, and Heru fulfilling the reason for which he was born. Hera Marquette, Heru on the horizon. This is the symbol that gave birth to the Romans using the eagle as a symbol of nationalism, symbol of pride and power. The same eagle that's on the back of the dollar bill was derived from Heru, the falcon, right? But while the front of these three statues are significant, there's even more important information on the sides of the statues. And most people don't see the sides because they're too busy going to work, too busy doing other things. Let me show you the size of these statues. Oh, so this is the origin of this. Let's be clear. Wow. Let's be clear. So let's look at the size of the statues. And what you will see here on the side of the statue, on the side of Hera Marquette, you see this figure, this shadowy figure here. He is a thief. He has just stolen something from Africa. What he has stolen, he's holding in this vessel here. He has stolen the knowledge of Africa, the light of Africa. And as a consequence of having stolen the wisdom, 5,000-year-old wisdom of Africa, Africa is dead. Africa is unconscious. Africa cannot protect herself or her people. Let's look at Minerva on the side of Minerva, here's the globe in the book. So on the side of Minerva, we see this same person who stole the knowledge of Africa. He's brought it into Europe. What did he steal? He stole a book. A book represents the accumulated wisdom of African people. And he's studying this book. He's studying this knowledge so that he can now take what we knew and apply that into his life. So Minerva is the Roman goddess of wisdom, knowledge, and power. Where did she get her wisdom from? It's a stolen legacy. She got it from Africa. What is she doing with that wisdom? She is controlling the world. Let's look at America. America is Europe's child. All right? Make no mistake about that. So here we see on the side of America, this same person, but the cloak is now being fully pulled off of him. So he's now free to run through this new world, to destroy, to kill. This is what they do. This is their legacy. And I want you to notice behind this thief is the vessel that this thief was carrying. So it's one continuation of the theft of the knowledge of African people. The knowledge that was stolen from our ancestors that has left us the walking dead. That's my introduction to my topic tonight, all right? This is the U.S. Custom House in New York, all right? So this is part one of the preparation to understand the lecture tonight.